Kamala Harris's presidential bid kicked off to thunderous media applause. We all remember that. But then quickly petered out without as much of a whimper. But before it did, she demanded a big tech censor that they censor the former president.
Here we have Donald Trump, who has 65 million Twitter followers, and is using that platform as the President of the United States to openly intimidate witnesses, to threaten witnesses, and he and his account should be taken down. Twitter should be held accountable and shut down that site. It is a matter of safety and corporate accountability.
Safety. It's all about safety. If it's really about safety and acting responsibly, why hasn't Harris demanded Twitter ban the spokesman for the Taliban? Here now is Horace Cooper, Project 21 co-chair, and Charlie Hurt, opinion editor for the Washington Times, which is where I have my weekly column, and Fox News contributor. Gentlemen, thank you. Horace, you know, Twitter, it's funny, they keep talking about, you know, Taliban. Other people are saying, well, you know, they don't break any of the tech rules. And whether or not, of course, Twitter's saying they don't know if they're really a violent organization. It seems like everyone has missed their medication at this point. We know what the Taliban has done. How can you explain this double standard that keeps slapping all of us in the face every day?
Look, if it wasn't for double standards, Twitter wouldn't have standards at all. It is unbelievable that the President of the United States, the sitting President of the United States, is considered a danger in some way because we don't like, quote, mean tweets. Meanwhile, an evil, vicious ideology that targets little children 6 years old and younger for marriage, that beheads people and believes that if you're born female, that somehow that means that you're supposed to be subjugated for life. But apparently, that's not dangerous.
Yeah.
That's not risky and doesn't appear to violate any of their standards.
It really,
unbelievable.
It really seems, Charlie, that not only have we been all suckers, right? That they must know what this standard is. They must know what it is they're saying and what this dynamic is, which is not just political, but obscene and dangerous and effectively assisting the worst among us while shutting down political voices that would expose the worst among us. Do I go too far there?
No, not at all. No, and it's so great that we played that clip of Kamala Harris because it puts it into perfect perspective. This is all about raw, hard politics. That's what this is about. That's why they went after Donald Trump. They went after Donald Trump to silence a political opponent, and they succeeded. And meanwhile, they're doing everything they can to promote a violent terrorist organization and doing everything they can to try to sort of convince people that there's this new and improved, kinder, gentler Taliban out there, and of course nobody on the ground is buying it. If you look at the images in Afghanistan right now, nobody is believing. Yeah, exactly. They're running like they should be running, and they're not believing this farce that Twitter and Facebook is trying to promote.
You know, I'll tell you, Horace, when we look at what it is we're being asked to believe and accept, it's like a mental illness. That this is not just, it's not even just about political differences, right? That we're being asked to believe that the moon is made of green cheese, that the sky is green, that we're not on planet Earth, we're on some pinhead in outer space, and we're really all on some set. I mean, it's like we've allowed those who are in the administration are arguing in a way that seems as though it moves closer to a mental illness and asks all of us to pretend along with them.
Yeah. We're seeing people that are conjoining behavior. One is, oh, I don't like getting a tweet at 3 a.m. in the morning. The other is, the kinder, gentler is, we're now using a sharp blade to behead. Yeah. One is categorically evil. If you're going to have a standard, they are supposed to be the ones that this standard covers. Instead, they just don't want to have discussions and they know about topics they don't like.
And they know it. Now, gentlemen, you know, this is the other strange thing. No one's confused here. Everyone knows what's going on. So I want to turn to the latest development, speaking of which, on the January 6th Capitol riot. First, let's remind everyone of the narrative pushed for months by Democrats and their media allies. Listen to this.
Obviously, this was a well-planned, well-coordinated breach of security attack.
Members of groups that attacked the U.S. Capitol on January 6th coordinated with one another.
A coordinated, violent attack by white supremacists on our nation's capital.
Yeah, well, yeah, none of that was true. To the surprise of no one, though, that was all a lie. Today, Reuters reports that the FBI found scant evidence that the U.S. Capitol attack was coordinated. 90 to 95% of these are one-off cases, said a former senior law enforcement official with knowledge of the investigation. There was no grand scheme of these people to storm the Capitol and take hostages. Charlie, we also watched the Capitol be fenced in for months, the National Guard, all of this narrative. And none of that. The FBI, which is not entirely, going to always be straight with us, is saying, yeah, this was not a coordinated thing by anybody. Is this more proof of the depth of the problem we have and what some people are willing to do to the country?
Oh, I think without a doubt. And this is how you wind up with 600 Americans rotting in prison, and most of them have been charged with like trespassing or disorderly conduct. And I'm not defending the riotous behavior on January 6th. I thought it was appalling at the time, and I think that they should pay a price for it. But this is absurd.
Yeah.
But the reason it's become so politicized, I think, and the reason they're not going to cease, is because this is the only way Democrats turn attention away from the actual crime that is going on in people's neighborhoods, in people's cities today as we speak. Horrible crimes that Democrats don't want to talk about, and that's why they're going to keep going back to January 6th and just talk about that.
Yes, and they can be the only victims, right? They're the only ones that matter. What happens to them is the only thing that matters, not a business that's burned down, lives destroyed. And then we still have the January 6th Commission. I don't know what they're going to do. Hardest hit may be Liz Cheney. If you've got, God forbid, should you not have a reason to call fellow Americans terrorists? God forbid, should you not be able to have that in your pocket? I think Afghanistan has told us all what the real priorities are, that all of this transcends partisanship, and that this is where we recognize that we've all been taken for a ride for a very long time. Gentlemen, thank you very much for being here tonight.